What does it mean to be a good person? As people, we are dropped into this world with no direction. We are fed, hydrated, sheltered, and then after about 17 till you haven't moved out yet, you are just expected to figure everything out. Take whatever moral compass and knowledge you got from school or hooky and create something with it. This is a situation most people find themselves in. And beyond that, it usually leaves you with one question. What's next? That answer can also vary. Some people immediately have their mind set on something, while others wander waiting for life to grab them. The idea of being a good or a bad person is terrifying. To equate your entire life, every action to such a basic black and white label is insane. Not to pull a Kanye, some people are definitely worse than others, but to simply be bad or good is terrifying. It's such an unrealistic thing to measure, but the question comes again and again. What makes a good person? What gives your life purpose? I'm not a therapist, psychologist, or any medical professional for that matter. The closest thing I got to experience in any of those fields is CPR training and two halves of differing psychology books. Don't take what I say as fact. That's not this video's purpose. I just wish to reflect on my own thoughts and possibly spark some sort of discussion out of this. Also, I wanted to try something a little bit different, so for most of these sections, I will be using random B-roll of me doing shit around the house. But with that, sit back, relax, and let's get stupid philosophical.
One by one at a time, we were let out, the blindfold was put on, and I felt myself being lowered onto something like a stretcher. And the stretcher was carried a long way very slowly through these forests. And then I felt myself being lowered into the ground. And then I felt these pieces of wood being put on me. I cannot tell you, Wally, what I was going through. And then the stretcher was lowered into the grave. And then this wood was put on me. And then my valuables were put on me in my hands, and they'd taken, a kind of sheet or canvas, and they'd stretched it about this much above my head, and then they shoveled dirt into the grave, so that I really had the feeling of being buried alive.
This movie is called My Dinner with Andre, and this section in particular had me thinking very, very hard. Would it be a waste of life to not live it to the constant fullest? Or are the small comforts of life enough to fulfill us on its own? It gets us to think even deeper and ask, what even is living life to the fullest? How does someone even do that, to be constantly pushing our bounds at every waking moment, learning and growing? This sounds exhausting. Constant self-growth is not a bad thing, but to be tested to your limits 24/7, you wouldn't want to live. The idea of a 9-to-5 job has slowly become one of the biggest fears of anybody. To waste away behind a keyboard while years fly by has become a scripture for unfulfillment. But at the same time, so many people fall into this corporate motif, realizing all the plans and aspirations they had are gone. We have no knowledge of practically anything we do in life until we do it. Nobody ever picks up a guitar, never seeing it before, and effortlessly plays Thunderstruck. The idea of balance, to get a happy medium, be able to set aside time for rest and put in the hours to fulfillment. We have no self-control when we are kids, enabling us to act recklessly and obsessively. To gain balance is hard and leads to the other question. What is even a person's fulfillment? Yeah, you can take out the trash every day to fulfill a needed job, but is that fulfilling? As humans, what is the purpose? Should we attempt to make as much change as possible, or try and become as powerful as possible? The prospect of making change or an impact as we evolve seems increasingly more impossible. To say you want to make change is often followed by statements like, "You'll never make any real change," or "We have no say in anything either way," which seems really bleak. I mean, what even counts as an impact? Do you have to be a Forrest Gump, or is life just as worth living as a bank worker or GIMP? Well, when I lived in New York, I had a neighbor who was a 9/11 first responder. I was young and didn't really understand what he was going through, but as a byproduct of being on the floor that day, his lungs had become permanently damaged. He was in and out of hospital for years, and had been practically bedridden due to his breathing issues. He finally managed to get a lung surgery, and after 2 days of seeming success, he suddenly got dramatically worse. He died the next day. The day before, he had denied going to the hospital despite his condition. He realized that whilst he could spend more time with his family, it would be in suffering. His problem wasn't going away, and he was content. He had accomplished everything he wanted to. He was a hero, a father, and a husband. Despite how he could have lived longer, he didn't want to. He looked around and he realized he had built something that made him happy. And he didn't have anything more to build and was miserable not even being able to leave the house. He ended up dying content, surrounded by his loved ones. He didn't cause a revolution, but the impact he had is undeniable. His family, friends, the people he saved. I don't think as people we need to achieve movie-esque goals to be happy or have a life worth living. I think to be a good person in a lot of ways is based on our impact on those around us. But to be honest, I don't really know. We just don't have definite answers to life, and I think that's okay. I admire my neighbor to this day. He constantly tried to make the most of life despite his circumstances. More so than anything, though, I admire his courage. There was no getting better, and he knew it. And at the end, he wasn't scared, he wasn't worried. He was happy, surrounded by the people who mattered. I think worrying about being a good person is in itself a step to being a good person. We all have issues and flaws, but those don't have to define you. And maybe just a step back and a breath could help a lot of us out. We don't have to know all the answers because through living we learn. Just like from the start we're directionless. We never know where life leads. And that's okay.